All right, so we're on. Apparently, I don't know.
Yep, you're live.
All right, welcome. I'm honored. This is Kevin Bingham. We've got Kale Lawyer, the Eye in the Sky, and we're here to do Kevin Bingham's Ask Me Anything, an AMA, a live Q&A session. Kevin is the creator of the Rope Runner, the Rope Wrench, the Rope Runner Pro, and a few yet to be made devices, right?
Sounds good.
Very good. So we're going to wait just a couple minutes before we get into everything. We'll let people join. What's been going on in your life recently, Kevin? Have you been doing anything outside of tree care with the lockdowns and all that?
We've been really busy here, just doing tree work. We were shut down for about 3 weeks in March. Didn't do anything. And then since then, we have really been pretty busy. So in the last couple of weeks, it's been just brutally hot. Today was 97, I think. Today was, I actually had Daddy Day. My wife, Emily, she does the estimates. So she does estimates on Thursday and Monday. And so I have the kids today, and then the grandma has the kids on Monday. And then the rest of the week I'm working. So.
We called you today. You were out rollerblading with your kids.
Yeah, we went for an epic bike ride, rollerblade. It was great.
Awesome. I heard they canceled TCIA. I got like the official thing. Did you hear that? Did you get the notice?
Not surprised. I mean, I've gotten some kind of bug every time I've been to that thing, and I've been to every one for the past since 2004, and I think I've come home with some kind of all that handshaking and no bueno.
You always get straight shows.
Yeah, it gets some strange kind of contagion. So it makes sense.
Sorry. I just said it's been a bummer that there's been so few events this year.
Yeah, we're Michigan's still planning on having our tree climbing competition, but that's still somewhat up in the air. We'll see.
Do you have a target date?
I think it's September 20-something, end of September. Yeah.
I have a feeling that'll be a really big one. With their kind of a durable event, people come from all over.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if it actually what happens. So.
All right, cool. Let's kick it off here. If you guys have questions, we've got a list of questions we pulled from the website that people submitted on the Facebook event. If you have other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Ken, our producer, will grab those and feed them in to Kevin as we go. The first question that we have is from Ladson Poole the fourth, and he wants to know, Kevin, how did you get into the tree care industry?
Well, various ways. I guess the pivotal moment was I was early high school, maybe late middle school, and I was visiting my uncle who lives in Decatur, Georgia, and he knew that I was into rock climbing, and basically I like to climb everything. I was very gymnastics, all that sort of thing. And he said, "Hey, you need to meet my neighbor." And he took me around the corner to his neighbor, who is a man named Peter Jenkins. Peter Jenkins, some people might know, as founded Tree Climbers International, which is basically teach people how to climb kind of guy. Anyway, we went over to his house, and he just told all these stories about what it was to be a professional tree climber. And so I was inspired, and I saw actually that there was a future in being a climber, and it wasn't just something, everybody else was talking about being a lawyer or a firefighter. And, I was like, oh, I can actually be a tree climber for a living. And, we were at his house for a good hour and just talking about it. And, after that, saw some tree workers on the side of the road in Denver where I lived, and I was like fascinated. So I went up to him and was like, "Can you give me a job?" And they said, "How old are you?" I said, 16. Said, "Come back when you're 18," and I did. And I got my first job right out of high school in Denver. A little company called Aesthetic Tree Service. Great little company. Then been bouncing around. Done tree work in New Mexico. I went to school out in California and did tree work during when I could, and also worked in a botanical gardens there. Then ended up in Detroit, and I've been here ever since. Actually, I had a stop in North Carolina where I worked with some really amazing people at Appalachian Arbor, and got some really great instruction. That was where I first learned like modern climbing, and just real tree care. So it's been a long road. It's 96 was when I got my first job doing tree work.
From same person from Ladson as well, Kevin, what would you say you like most about it, and what would you say you like the least about tree care?
Well, I love being with the trees. I think that's just an amazing part of our job, and not many people can say they can work with living things, get your hands on there's just so many things about working with a tree. Things I hate is I hate the business. I hate the oil and gas, the loud, the chipper, the dust, the grease. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things. Broken equipment. I hate broken equipment. I hate. Well, I can't complain. I really, every time I think about I get sick of it, and I try to think of something else I want to do. I really, and I don't even know what other people do. Like, I try to see what these people do with my customers, and I can't even wrap my head around actually what their jobs are most of the time. So, yeah, I can't complain.
Kale, do we have any questions in the chat that we can take? Can we take a question from the chat? I can't hear you if you're talking, bud.
Yep, I'm sorry, I had everything muted there. I do have one here that I think is an interesting question. Let's see, I don't know who it's from. It's how do you find investors if you have a new tree invention?
Good question.
Boy, yeah, I don't really know.
That's Charlie Tree.
I get a lot of questions on like how I would, how I do things as an inventor, and I basically just played it by ear. I think a lot of times people that are interested will come to you. I think there's a difference also between an idea and an actual invention. So don't, before you go try to talk to people, have something that really works and looks good, really put your name to it. I want to say get a patent, but that's also really expensive. But there's other ways to kind of, put your name with it. Have something really ready to go, that works. Maybe have some backup if you reviews that are good, people other than yourself that can vouch for the fact that it's a good idea. And yeah, I think if you do those things, then people will come to you that are interested. And if it's a good enough idea, then you can sort of choose who you want to work with.
For sure.
And
here's an easy one. This is probably an easy question, Kevin. From Matt Wilson, what do you think is the best rope to run with the Rope Runner Pro?
That's really not an easy question because I get asked this all the time. And lately, my problem has been is Nick sent me 600 feet of the Notched Dragon. We were at
Asked for that.
Kings of the Canopy, and we ended up tearing up a bunch of Notched Dragons. So I was like, let me try all this out for you. So I got 600 feet of it, and I still haven't gone through yet. I'm still still have two 200-foot lengths of Notched Dragons. That's what I've been climbing a lot lately. I've used the adrenaline, and it's pretty good. I've used my poison ivy. That's always a great rope. It's hard to. Yeah, I think there's different qualities. If it's too smooth, some of the smoother ropes can be a little bit hard to adjust. New ropes are no good. And that's basically true with anything. I've learned my experience in tree climbing competitions where you go, like, you want to show up with all the new fancy, and then you end up, in the middle of the work climb, you're running and your hitch grabs an unmilked section of rope. It's no good. So, new rope always sucks. Wash it. The first thing you do when you get a rope is wash it. It comes with like a little waxy, glassy stuff on it that makes performance up. And there's the rope hasn't come to its full self, where the inside and outside are matched. Like there's nothing better than a well-used poison ivy. That's been my favorite line of all time, where it's just got such a great feel. It's really static. It's soft. It ties a knot really well, and it's that's about as good as it gets. But yeah, Notched Dragon, it's been great. I can't complain. We were tearing up. I'm up in that competition. I think we burnt up like 4 ropes, and everybody was like, but yeah, in just regular day-to-day working, it's been great, and I do like it. It's nice and static. It's light. It holds its round really well. I think it actually, you can run it a little more wide open than some other ropes, just because of how well it holds its round. But yeah, my experience is there's so many ropes out there, and my biggest thing is just give them some time, wear them in, and work with your tool a little bit.
Nice. We wanted to call some people that got rope runners, and I've got a call queued up here. I'm going to give this guy a call. He might be watching, so I want to surprise him. But let's see if he answers, and we'll try and greet him and surprise him.
Do I know who you're calling here?
It's
okay, I got you.
Our boy. This guy does a lot of reviews. The TreeStuff customer review program. He'll do like 20 or 30 at a time and get like $10 gift certificate for each. Let's see if he answers. It's killing me.
It's right at dinner time.
Yeah, but it's us.
Hi, this is Adam Castro with Arbor Kingdom Tree Service. I am unable to take your call.
All right, I got another one. We'll try one more cold here. If we can't get someone on the line, we'll let you ask some questions, Kale, and I'll try to bring somebody up in the back. This is Cody. Cody from Michigan.
It's a familiar name.
It is a familiar name. I feel like I know him.
Hi, the person you've reached is using a screening.
Why did I hang? I should have.
Oh, now he thinks you're spam.
I know. All right, no, because the screening service, he probably didn't get it. Let's try one more time.
Okay.
I shouldn't hit. I was too fast to hang up there. Sorry, Kevin. We're running ahead of schedule to get to our first call here, so we've got a minute to pick up.
Yeah.
Hi, Cody.
Yep, this is him.
Hey, it's Nick Bonner with TreeStuff and Kevin Bingham. You're live. We're on a webinar right now. We know you just got your Roadrunner Pro, and Kevin wants to ask you what you thought of it.
Oh, all right, yeah. First impressions, it was pretty good. I'd say the only thing that was really weird and was that top foot pin, how it rotates when descending and ascending.
Yeah.
Is it or what?
Yeah, so that'll settle down. Pretty much the OG runners did that, and the rope wrench does that when you first get them. Once it gets a little bit of a wear spot, it'll settle in, and yeah, you'll be good. Yeah, just probably another 3 days of running it, and that pin, maybe even less, that pin will stop spinning like that.
Gotcha. But yeah, other than that, man, looking amazing. It's awesome.
Cool. Where in Michigan are you? Right on.
North of Detroit.
Cool.
You could go to his house and say hi.
Hey, we're having a rec climb at Palmer Park on Saturday morning. You want to come down?
Saturday morning, yeah. I heard from a coworker, Joe.
Cool, yeah, it'd be cool to see you there. Around on the backside by the community garden.
Well, I hope you guys get to hang out, but we got to get on with our show. Cody, do you have anything else?
Enjoy your runner, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, Cody.
All right.
I can't believe that he's from Michigan and Kevin invited him to a rec climb. It was just like awkward silence. That was great. Cody, thank you. If you're watching this later, we're really glad that you got it and that you love it. We've got a couple more questions lined up, and then I think we'll do another call. So if you bought a Roadrunner, maybe we'll call you soon. Kevin Morset was a big fan. I believe is the most common and biggest obstacle that keeps the climber from improving. So what's holding people back, do you think?
Gosh. I think everybody's different. Everybody has different kinds of hangups. I think it is a pretty common mistake to, and I hear it from people, is once you get something down, you stick to it. I think you should always be trying to learn and to improve, and that there's always a more efficient way to do whatever it is you're doing. I mean, that's just in general, not just in tree work, but always look for ways to make your movements more efficient, your planning more efficient, and don't just assume that because you've been getting the job done, that's the right way to do it. There's always a better way. So I think that's kind of been my philosophy, and I think it helps, and it makes work much more interesting too, because you're always tackling it as a puzzle to get better, and sometimes in that process you go backwards, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, because yeah. So always be looking for there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, so getting stuck, getting complacent with one thing.
Don't get in a rut.
Kyle Christensen wants to know, the product launch video, you did a crazy wicked traverse. You must be from New England. You did a crazy traverse and you went on your climbing line. How did you do that? I've heard a couple people want to know that.
Secret.
Come on. It's an thing. You have to tell us.
So basically, You go through your redirect, right? You're here, and then you come back through your redirect, and you want to go to your initial tie-in point. So you bring your rope through, but you leave this side, and then what I do is I tie I call it a horse knot, which is basically a slip knot. So this is around the rim, the limb. When you put your weight in that, it stays super solid, and then you can traverse back across. You take your tail with you, so when you get to the other side, you just pull it out, and it's a slip knot. There's definitely risks involved with that. It's not your primary tying point, but if it were to go accidentally, if you were to pull that, so there's definitely some risk in it, but it has saved me a huge amount of time because you don't have to go down and up. You can just go straight back across to where you came from. And for instance, if you're doing if you have a canopy tie and you want to come back down at the end of the day, you can zip right back across. It's pretty convenient. Also, a lot of times there'll be suckers and other branches in the way of where you're trying to go, and with that method you can just go right over the top as opposed to crashing down through all the brush. It is one of my favorite little tricks, and it's saved me hours, I think, over the last
I feel like
several
we
years.
just learned a very secret trick. That was cool. That's a cool technique. Thanks for sharing that with us.
There's a YouTube video of it. If you want to see it closer on my YouTube channel, I think it's called "Using the Horse Knot." But yeah, it's on my YouTube channel. So just a short little clip of how to set that up and do it.
Maybe Kale can flash that on the screen or something later. Dan Clemson wants to know, as a bigger climber, 220 pounds, he's noticing the bird can be difficult to break when adjusted too tight and some slipping when it's loose. Is there a specific rope or diameter that you would suggest, or any type of technique that can help heavier climbers?
We've been talking about, with the OG runner, we had a bird attachment that worked really well, and we haven't done that for this one yet, but I think it's definitely, we will be able to make a thicker plate for this that will add more friction down there for heavier climbers. Another option would be to use a rope like Vortex, which has got some girth. There's enough room in here. Vortex, Tachyon is another rope I recommend for heavier climbers. The Adrenaline seems to work really well too. It's a little bit on the thicker side and holds its ground really well. The softer the construction, the Poison Ivy, and then some of the thinner lines. Sterling rope is not. The Sterling HTP flattens a lot. I think we will work on a friction plate specifically for heavier climbers, and keep an eye on that in the future here.
Hold up. Hold up.
The pro was flattening the rope less because of the curved bollards. Is that something you've noticed climbing on the pro, that it's flattening it less than the original?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm not. It's hard. It's hard to quantify. And then the other thing is too is like when you go over the same section several times, it'll get. I mean, it still flattens, but maybe not as pronounced as the other one. But the idea with the curved bollard is that it gives a little more friction. There's more surface area in contact with the rope. Stainless steel is slippier. I think stainless steel has less friction than the aluminum bollards did. So there is a subtle difference in the quality of the friction between the stainless steel bollards and aluminum. And this won't wear as quickly, but it's the quality is a little bit different with the friction, for sure, between aluminum and stainless steel.
Our next question, I'm not sure if our questioner took this, is taking the piss, as they say, or not, but this question was too wild for us to leave out. A tree fell in the lake. Do you think it's possible to put a few inner tips under it and raise it back to the surface so I can cut it up to remove it? I feel like he's challenging your ingenuity. Like, he wants to float this tree out of the lake so he can cut it up and get rid of it. Is that possible? Should he try that? Are you going to go help him?
That sounds like a fun job, really. I mean, how you would dive down there, and how would you blow the inner tubes up? There's got to be a way. I mean, what about, can you just pull it up with a boat or get a GRCS on it? Or
Well, so like marine salvage, they have a parachute, right? They take it underwater, like a bag. They fill it up with air from their air tank, and it floats and pulls the stuff up. So maybe that's what Greg needs.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, that sounds like a fun job. I mean, what does the tree need to go for? Is it good fish habitat, or maybe?
That's what I didn't understand. I think he might have been poking fun at the questions, maybe not taking it super seriously, but that's okay. We wanted to do some more calls. You want to do another call?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's where we're at in the timeline of the email. A couple minutes ahead, but one question. We're going to call. He's a TreeStuff super fan. He was one of the first people to buy Rope Runner. He might be watching right now. He is watching.
He's definitely watching.
Phone's going to ring, bro, right now. So we'll see if he answers.
Hello?
Jason,
What's going on?
it's Kevin and Nick. How are you, man?
I'm doing awesome. How you guys doing?
Good. Tell us what you bro.
Well, I'm loving this Rope Runner Pro, man. It's just smooth as can be. I love that you can adjust it a little bit more. It's easier than the other one. Love that you can just slack it right on rope wherever you are.
Cool.
I'm just hoping you guys.
Where in Wisconsin are you?
What's that?
Where in Wisconsin are you? Yeah, I don't think you can hear me.
Where in Wisconsin do you live, Jason?
Yeah, I'm in Wisconsin.
Where at in Wisconsin? What city?
It's just outside of Milwaukee.
Nice.
McGuanago.
How
Do
many
you have any
rope runners
questions?
do you have?
I have two. I have one original and one pro. Hopefully picking up another one because my kids have been away for the time with me, and my youngest daughter is doing just amazing with this stuff, and pretty soon. Rope Runner Pro.
It's about to turn 7 and it's just starting to get her into the trees a little bit. It's cool. That's good.
My 7-year-old is hip thrusting already, you know, and with a Blake and doing amazing at it. I wanted to stop, but we're just going to get up and switching through some systems, and I'm hoping by, end of this year, next.
I love that. I love
Jason,
that.
we're really glad you enjoy it. I'm gonna get on to our next call here. But, thanks for sharing your feedback with us. And we'll see
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Enjoy your runner.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys, and I'll be enjoying the rest of the show.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, we're gonna do another call. Is that okay?
It's okay as long as Kevin comes back.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna call Kristen Smith, see if she's watching. Your phone's about to ring. She's from Missouri. Emma.
Nick, what does the 53-420 stand for? That's the part number?
Yeah. You want to know? I looked that up myself. I was like, what is this 53-420?
You have reached the voicemail box of.
All right, need an answer. We're gonna try for Sean Parker. Answers. Sean, are you gonna answer your phone?
Kevin, can you try turning your audio down a little bit? You're on your phone. Maybe that's it.
Right here, Sean speaking.
Hi, Sean. This is Nick Connor from TreeStuff.com. With Kevin Bingham, the inventor of the rope runner, and he's on the phone with us. And you're on live on our webinar, and we wanted to
Hey,
ask
how's it
you.
going?
Hey, what's up?
We wanted to ask you what you thought of the rope runner pro that you just bought, Sean, live in front of everybody.
Well, I haven't got a chance to actually climb on it yet, but so far I love it. I mean,
That's cool. I've talked to you before, right? Are you just Sean Parker?
what's it? Yeah.
Yeah. How's it going? Yeah, I hope this one works out for you a little better than the OG one.
Is there history?
The classic.
Is there history with Sean and the rope runner that we don't know
Well,
about?
you tried a couple things. Yeah, we've gone back and forth a couple times on the.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Sean, anything about the rope runner pro that really jumped out at you that you liked? Oh, I think the call ended.
Oh, you're just talking to nobody there.
We're talking to nobody.
I think it disconnected. All right, well, let's move on. We've got our next question. This question's from me. I submitted a question, and then I upvoted my question with two different groups.
Goodness.
Make sure that it got on the list. How has inventing the rope runner and the rope wrench changed your life outside of being an arborist?
It's been a complete different. I mean, I've got pretty much a different career now. I was talking earlier about not being able to think of things to do outside of arboriculture. Well, this is definitely, since the rope wrench, which was in a sense accidental, that got me inspired to really search out solutions for things and, consider myself as an inventor. So it gave me a new perspective on like what I do. So that's been really great. And I think for over the last 10 years, it's been an exploration, a huge education, learning, going around to all the different metal shops and talking to engineers and just, it's learning how to operate a mill, all those things. It's been a real adventure and super fun. And
was it hard to convince your family after you were like, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur and start a tree service and take all these risks and build this business? And then you were like, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur and be an inventor. And like, my tree service is doing good, but I want to do this other thing. Like, was your wife, was she always got to go for it, or was she?
Well, that's the thing is that I don't think I've ever considered myself an entrepreneur because, that's the part of, that side has been kind of as a result of me being a tree climber. that I ended up, because I didn't necessarily want to work for 40 hours a week for somebody else, and all the constraints that go along with it. But yeah, I never planned on being an entrepreneur, and I never signed up for that. That's been a complete, and one of the hardest things that I've had to get used to actually is the idea of this being a business, as opposed to me just doing what I want to do. So
You're
yeah.
such a humble. You're like, I'm not an entrepreneur.
As far as the business goes, I'm pretty terrible at it. Emily, my wife, has pretty much saved the tree service by taking it over. So I've gone back to having a boss as far as the tree service goes, and that's great. I go out every morning, I get there, and then we go to the job. He tells me what to do, and that's kind of been great. When I was actually running the tree service, it was really, really, I could not keep track of one customer from the next customer, and a schedule is really difficult. And this is the same thing as far as the rope tools. There's a reason that I went with ISC and Notch because I realized I definitely did not. I tried to make rope wrenches in the basement initially, and it was brutal. Just going to the post office was not something that. It's just a horrible experience, and trying to keep things together, and yeah. So the faster I could sign somebody else off of handling all the things like customer service and shipping and all that stuff. It's not something that so seeing myself as an entrepreneur that's definitely not my original intent. But more so, being a climber, having the best tools to climb with is kind of my original plan.
Well, you've changed a lot of people's lives, Kevin, and I think a lot of people really look up to you as a business owner. We've got a question off the chat here from Laura Bird, who's changing gear. How much importance and consideration is given to nesting trees? So definitely a different style of question, but how much consideration are you giving to nesting and pruning these trees? And are there any thoughts to retaining dead trees as habitat for cavity and other wildlife?
That's pretty, and I think that's really I think it's really important, and it's hard. I think for our tree service, we're always going to people's yards and talking ourselves out of tree work. People, hey, I want to cut this tree down. Oh, I want to take out all the deadwood. We're like, no, the deadwood is it's good as long as it's not dangerous to you. It's not going to fall on your heads or through your skylight. I think for the most part, leaving snags in people's backyards, if tree services can take the approach of mitigating failure and protecting residents and infrastructure, but still leaving, it's amazing. One of the tree that a dying tree got hit by lightning, a big oak, and we took everything that was over structures out, and we went there just the other day to do some other tree work, and I was looking at this dead oak, and there's literally 30 holes in a 20-foot section. It's just one hole. It's littered with habitat, and I think that's really important. And it's hard to be a tree service and know that you're going around you're cutting down trees and you're destroying habitat, and you're not really making things better. But it's a hard sell because people have their idea of what a tree is supposed to look like, and that includes, no deadwood, and a lot of times they just want the tree gone. So it's very hard to sell that vision of yeah, so I'm glad there's people out there thinking about that, and the arborists are really concerned about, it's so important that we have. And another thing that I always tell people is people need to stop putting herbicides and pesticides on their yards. And I think as arborists, we have a good avenue to be talking with customers, get them away from toxifying their yards, planting more pollinator-friendly plants, getting away from the monoculture death lawn that kills trees. And yeah, so I think that's great. Keep on thinking about those things.
I'm with you, man. I think leaving the habitat for the birds and stuff is really cool. Next question. You've kind of answered some of this already, so I'm going to cut Doug's question in half here. But after you designed such a groundbreaking device, the rope wrench, what led you to then go and design the rope runner? Why weren't you happy with the rope wrench?
Well, I can credit that to, at the time, the rope wrench was not allowed in the ITCC, the tree climbing competition, and some of the feedback that I was getting was that it was not certified as a complete system, and it needed to be, sold as a package with the wrench, the hitch, the pulley. And to me, that was just sort of defeated the whole purpose of the beauty of hitch-based climbing, where there's 10,001 combinations of press cord and twists and wraps, and there's 600 different types of hitches, and so it kind of, the idea of a hitch-based system being that all-contained package deal was difficult. So I kind of took the tack that the only way to actually do that is to have a full mechanical, and the rope runner came out of that. And I think at the end of the day, mechanicals are similar. I mean, there's 10,001 different ways to tie a mechanical hitch also. So and we'll see more. There'll be more mechanical hitches coming out, and but that was sort of the motivation behind beginning work on the rope runner. Yeah.
We've got a question from Robert Trout. What's the best ascent system with the rope runner? I've seen you do some rope ascents that are just like out of this world amazing. I mean, you are one of the most graceful climbers I've ever seen, Kevin. But for the regular guy who maybe isn't 6'3", wiry, what's the best ascent system with the Rope Runner Pro?
I mean, I think really getting a knee ascender and a foot ascender, and honestly having a good chest harness. I use the Paul Didier chest harness with a little night eyes, something you don't want too much clunk and clutter, but a good bungee knee ascender, the Haas and a Pantene, or a good foot ascender. That's pretty much as easy as it gets, I think.
It really is.
Yeah, I personally like foot locking a lot, and I often just get out of the truck, and if the tree's not too complicated, I'm not going to bother with a knee ascender and a foot ascender, because it's 4 or 5 locks up to the canopy, and then can have the canopy to work. But for a long ascent, yeah, it doesn't get much easier than a knee ascender, foot ascender. And take the time to dial it in. If you and look at your efficiency. There's so many different things with, if you're picking up, I watch people who aren't totally fluid yet, and there's a lot of wasted energy. If you're falling back, if you're moving your feet higher, you're creating slack in the system here and there. So a lot of that is taking time to get the an inch or two different means a lot as far as how long your knee ascender is, or where your runner is sitting, how much movement you're getting between your foot and your knee ascender makes a lot of difference. Little steps also, I think. A lot of little steps is probably more is better than trying to take huge steps. I like to take huge steps too, but it's easier and probably when you're first getting going to take little steps. That was true for spar work also. When using spurs, just take a lot of little steps. I can't hear.
Nick, did you mute yourself somehow?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So, we want to do another call. That's when we're at schedule. So we're going to call. Do you know Derek Weigel? Kevin?
I don't think so.
I'm going to make sure I call somebody that you don't know. Do you like a lot of knowledge about Missouri?
No.
Oh, 667-5577. All right. This has been cool. This is one of the first true mobile two-person broadcasts we've done for TreeStuff. You want to tell him who it is this time, Kevin?
Hey, this is Derek. Sorry I missed your call.
Let's
leave me your number and I'll get back with you. Thank you.
Leave him a message. Hey, Derek. It's Nick Hunter with TreeStuff.com. We're live on a webinar. Kevin Bingham's here. Kevin, say hi.
Hey, how's it going, David?
So
hope you're enjoying your runner.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you that we hope you like your rope runner, man. We were going to ask you how you like it. So, instead, you get voicemail. We're going to try Jacob Tomlin next. Talk to you later. Well, okay. So, Jacob T. You know.
Well, that's a lot of Jacobs.
You doing Jacob before? This guy's from Georgia. I wonder if he knows Robert Albritton.
Robert Albritton knows everybody in Georgia, so probably.
Jambo man. So what's up with the next Jambo? What's happening?
So we weren't going to do Jambo.
Your call has forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
We weren't going to do Jambo in 2020. We had a different event plan, and then the world kind of caught on fire, right? And it didn't happen. So I think we're definitely going to do Jambo 7 in 2021. Like we said in 2019 we were going to skip a year, and I guess we're just not going to have done that other event. But I think people will be really excited for Jambo 7. Are you climbing it?
I mean, Jambo's about as fun as it gets. The last Jambo, I had a really great time. That was amazing. The first two about killed me, but so I took a break for, I think I missed 3 or 4. But I went back last year and it was great. I had such a great time.
We always save a spot for you in that event, Kevin. It's always so fun to watch you climb. We're going to try another phone call here. We'll try David Sample, David S.
Yep.
I want to congratulate Kale. Kale got promoted to TreeStuff marketing lead, and in the event that we ever encounter extraterrestrial life, he is TreeStuff's intergalactic liaison.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, that's the official title.
I
Actually,
think that's pretty cool. But yeah, Kale's been working with us for almost 5 years, and he's a TreeStuff and all the content that you guys see when you look at TreeStuff. There are some other people working on it. I don't mean to slight them, but Kale is the frontline guy. So that's cool.
Your call has been forwarded.
You want to try one more call or take some more questions?
Let's do some questions. Oh, you're trying. Okay.
All right, we'll try some questions. Let's take some questions out of the chat.
Do you want me? I've got a couple here written down.
Yeah, go for it, Gil.
So let's see. We got about 10 minutes left, because I heard you have to go to do some Dungeons and Dragons thing. So if we could do like a speed round. I have Almond Grant here asking a question about how has overcoming adversity led to your success in the tree industry?
Honestly, I can't really say I've overcome that much adversity. My life has been pretty well padded, I think, compared to a lot of stories. I can't really, I mean, other than people, yelling at me for raking the wrong direction and picking up the blower too early, putting on the chain backwards, all those things. But yeah, I don't think I can really claim much adversity in my life. It's been, I've been very fortunate.
Well, that's good. All right. Here's another one, probably an easier one. This is Kevin Venezuela asking, how do you get a job at Singing Tree as an engineer or an arborist?
Gosh.
I think what he's asking is, are you hiring?
Yeah. With my tree service, I've always had this idea that I would try to keep it small and fight growth. And I think fighting growth is a difficult. It's hard to fight growth, and so we're a pretty small crew. But I think if you were to show up and be super motivated and excited, then we could figure out how to grow somehow. But yeah, we're a pretty small crew, and the rope tools, it's been just me. There's no real operation, and I've been really fortunate to work with the engineers at Notch, who have been really incredible on this project. So,
are you saying that the Singing Tree is accepting walk-ons, though, Kevin? Like, are they for Singing Tree? I think people are going to be like loading up the pop-up trailers driving to Michigan.
Well, and everyone knows where you're going to be on Saturday.
Yeah, Kale.
I think the thing that keeps people at bay is having to work in Detroit.
Yeah.
So it takes a special person to want to work and live in Detroit.
We've got a lot of people on here asking about using the rope runner in an MRS or a DRT system. Could you show how you can hook that up? Do you have the stuff there available?
I don't have the stuff there. I guess I can.
Can we just talk about it a little bit?
I think the main thing is to create some separation. What I do, so I have a swivel. I have an Omni swivel, which is the Rock Exotica Omni swivel, and so I clip my runner into the swivel part, and then I put the DDRT leg to the backside. So I'm not swiveling anymore, but I've sort of created some separation, and there's the carabiner is down low, and you got to make sure if you have a knot that it's not hooking into the bird. A splice is a little better. But yeah, that's what I do. I think I've seen people, if you have one ring, you can, if you have two rings on your harness, you can put one on one ring and the other on the other ring. Kind of gives it a little bit of separation. Yeah, and then just go from there. I think, honestly, if you're going to be climbing a lot of if you're going to be climbing a lot of double rope, then it's the runner doesn't work as well as a hitch climber because you can't tie into its self, and so there's the separation between each side, whereas a hitch climber it's self-tending. So if you're doing a lot of, I don't recommend the rope runner as a predominantly DDRT system. I mean, I use it when I get on a crane because it's there, it's easy, and I'm not doing a lot of moving around. But yeah, it works.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the optimal moving rope system device, but it really shines on SRT, and being able to do moving rope when you need it to is definitely a bonus.
Okay. What?
I think we'll probably get ready to wrap up here. Kevin, is there anything that you have been trying to say or want to tell the over 2,000 people that are watching right now? Is there anything that you want to get off your chest, or you want to use this time for anything, or can we just wrap it up? I want to say thank you for sure.
Yeah, thank you guys, everybody. Thanks for being so supportive with this whole project. I've been just overwhelmed with how really appreciative everybody's been, and I really hope you enjoy it. Go low and slow. Mess around. Don't jump on a different rope and go 200 feet up in the air. Get to know the tool before you really get crazy with it. I'm a huge proponent of using 2 ropes, and yeah, just be safe out there. I think it's we do a really scary, dangerous job. Don't forget it. And have fun. I really appreciate all of you. And yeah, thanks again for supporting the whole project. It's been great.
I think a lot of people have really enjoyed watching you go on this journey over these years and feeling like they were a part of it with you. I know that I have, and it's really been fun. So thank you, Kevin. Thanks for doing this. Thank you, Kale.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be possible without all of you. So it's great.
That's it. I think that's a wrap. Kale, shut us down. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Kevin, thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.